Hello, and welcome back to Season 3 of the Fresh Finds Podcast, the show about discovering new music with good people. I'm Ryan, and joining me this episode are the guys from the Detroit funk rock band TOED. How are you guys doing today?
Ryan, it's a fucking pleasure to be here, my friend.
I am so glad that you guys are finally on.
Thank you for having us.
Been chilling for a while, waiting on somebody. We won't say who.
Oh, shit. He thought it was virtual. He didn't get the memo, and he doesn't speak English that well. Isn't that right, Enrique?
But, so do you guys want to go down the line and introduce yourselves and kind of talk about the band and the music that you make and that sort of thing? Just, you know.
Yeah, well, let's go for it. Hey everybody, my name is Kai Althaus. I am vocalist, guitarist, and bassist. We kind of swap around, but those are primarily my responsibilities. And I'll pass it over to Brandon.
Cool. Yeah, we swap around. We swap girlfriends and stuff too. We're really, really cool and progressive band.
Sexy.
So I've been really enjoying that experience a lot. Yeah, my name is Brandon. I play the saxophone. I also do some singing here at TOED. It's been a real pleasure playing with these guys, man. I'm stoked to be here. Thanks again, Ryan.
Yeah, Jahan, guitar and bass,
and producer.
Oh, yeah.
Producer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Really good at that.
Producer and engineer.
I got roped up into, getting these guys recording and producing all their stuff for free, so that's fun.
Assistant to the studio manager.
Assistant to the assistant regional studio manager.
It's pretty awesome, man.
Look, if you're in the band, then you're obligated to do the production.
Yeah, it's true. This is true.
Well, I used to do the production, and I hated it. So when Jahan came around, that was a godsend.
That's funny.
I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
And we are actually, as of today, coming up on 2 months of your new single, Hippity Hoppity. By the time this is out, we will be past the 2-month mark, which is the first song that you guys have released since Hot Tub Toad Machine, which was your first EP that you released last year. Do you guys want to give me a little bit of background on kind of how that song came to be?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. So I've been a firm believer in private property rights over the course of my career as a student, and within that came a meme of a frog who wanted to defend his private property,
yes.
right? And he says, "Hippity hoppity, get the fuck off my property." And there's a frog with a shotgun. So I went and I bought a doormat that had just that on it, and I was just singing in my kitchen one day. I bought this doormat, and I would put it outside of my condo complex, and it really started to piss my neighbors off. And every day I would rotate the mat. So I had the hippity hoppity, get the fuck off my property frog mat, and then I had a peaceful frog on a lily pad that said "Welcome to our pad."
Oh, that's amazing!
Yeah, so I would switch it every other day. I would take the mat out, so the mail person would either be like, "What?" Like, had to be like, "What the fuck?" The Amazon delivery driver.
What are we feeling today? Are we?
We're a happy frog today, man.
Yeah,
Sundays,
come into the pit.
Yeah, Sundays are a happy frog day. So
good to hear.
Eventually, the neighbors started retaliating, and they would flip my hippity hoppity frog over, and so that was just kind of like a bit I was doing, and I was just in the kitchen doing dishes, and I started singing it. I was like, hippity 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 hoppity, and I just kept going, and I'm like, holy fuck, I'm like, this is dumb enough to be a song.
It came to you almost fully fleshed out.
Yeah, a little bit. And
that's amazing.
And I shot it over to Kai, and I remember hey man, I got this stupid idea, and this motherfucker was on top of it. He's like, all right, he's recording a guitar part for it and everything. So he's like, here's what we got. So we really dial it in, right? All started with an idea and a concept, and I was able to kind of work through, okay, well, we want to have some more animals involved in this song and this experience, and then the verses and the chorus, and then Kai had the idea to have a nice bridge for it, and we just collectively jammed it out, man, as a group. And
and just to add on to kind of why I was so excited about it is because, to just touch on the essence of TOED a little bit more, it's a serious band, but comedy is definitely a big part of what we do. I mean, you can see the feet poster behind us. We're called TOED, which is sort of supposed to make you think of the frog. And then when we tell you it's actually feet, it's a funny play on words.
Misdirection.
And, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he comes to me with a song about a gangster frog with defending his private property, and it's the epitome of what we like to call real TOED shit. And we just ran with it. I tossed some Hendrix chords behind it, and then Jahan came in, laid a funky bass line down, and our drummer is not here with us. Jonathan Maltz is just as tight as a drummer as they come, and he just gave a funky drum beat, and it grew from there. And
Music video was fun too. And then Kai
Oh,
had
yeah,
the
I
idea
made a
for the
music
music
video.
video.
Oh yeah,
Our-
out on Belle Isle.
Yeah, Belle
Yeah,
Isle.
yeah.
Simon shot that, and we just had collectively so much fun dressing up. This is when Jahan discovered his passion for cross-dressing. It was really, like I said, we're very progressive, and it was a very magical experience for everybody.
It's true. You feel a different sort of power when you wear a dress. It's a different sort of power. You
Yeah.
know, nobody
you
can
look
tell
pretty
you.
good too. I was all
You
about
feel
it.
the breeze.
You do.
I was slightly
Yeah.
aroused.
That's why I started wearing tank tops. I kind of wanted to. I missed it, but tank top is more my thing, I guess.
I
It
get
was so
that.
funny though. Like we had this idea to go to the Belle Isle Aquarium,
Okay.
and Jahan is playing the female crocodile landlord. So he is in a dress with a rubber crocodile head on, and we show up to Belle Isle Aquarium, and it is like very clearly a kid's day. And there are like 200 kids in the aquarium, and us walking through, just looking absolutely outrageous.
That's
but
amazing.
It was a lot.
The
of
only
fun.
thing better would have been if we were all on shrooms. Like, I swear to God, I felt like the creators of South Park. I was like, this is just unbelievable right
That's
now.
amazing.
Yeah.
Also, you talking about the guitar and throwing down the Hendrix chords. I really like the video that you made. I think it was a TikTok showing like
yeah.
the chords and how to play the song. I think
Yeah.
that's something that's really interesting with like modern promotion of
Yeah,
music is showing people how to play your songs, because like you've got bands that will release like tab books of like how to play their stuff, or like, you know, videos on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And I don't know, that's just kind of an interesting thing that I've noticed recently with promoting music, is showing other people how to play your songs.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think beyond that, any creator, whether it's music or TV or whatever, you have to be able to provide some sort of value to the consumer beyond just, here's a song, you might like it.
Yeah.
So I find that
Entertainment value beyond that.
Yeah, and being able to like show somebody actually what the thought process is, why it works, is, you know, that's something that's pretty cool. And I teach guitar lessons, and I had a student, after I put that video out, come in the next lesson having learned Hippity Hoppity on his own. It was like, that was so much fun.
That's got to be such a cool, like, full
cool.
circle
Yeah.
moment, having a student learn a song that you wrote
Yeah, and I
outside
didn't
of
te-
class.
I mean, I guess I technically taught him, but you know, but yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, that's really
But
fun.
yeah, thanks, I appreciate that.
And I also really like, because you mentioned that you wrote the verses and the chorus, and then did you write the vocals for the bridge? I know that you recorded them.
Yeah, I wrote the vocals for
I
the bridge.
really like the dichotomy between your two voices, how you've kind of got the like higher, more sing-songy thing, and then you've got more of the like gruff, bluesy kind of sound. Like those two go together really well.
Yep.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, we've
We
been
appreciate
discovering that. We've been having a lot of fun with all of us doing, you know, various parts and singing, and a lot of our cover songs or originals. And it's just been, it's a really neat experience being able to like, all right, new singer. And then people, you know, Jahan and Kai switching back and forth from the bass and guitar, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no definition in total of like, you're the guitar player, you're the bass player, you're the singer, there's just, that just doesn't exist anymore for us, which just makes it just that much more fun
A
when we
very
perform.
fluid lineup.
And I think
For
that
sure.
expands the potential of what we can create.
Oh,
I think if one person is thinking solely about, I got to write the entire song, or I got to do the bass, or, you know, so forth, you can find yourself in a rut. And I find when we started switching and we brought in our buddy Simon Abohasira, I think I got it right.
Fuck yeah, dude, you did.
Took me a
Crush
month to
that
figure
shit.
it out. But we brought him in, and me and Jahan started switching. And, you know, Jahan's guitar style is more bluesy, but then I'm still like trying to be funky on the bass. And then Simon has a very soulful voice. So where, like you had mentioned, Brandon is raspy, I guess maybe more traditional, cleaner, maybe rock, and then Simon is very soulful. I don't know.
Jahan can sing country too. Fun
Jahan,
fact.
if you want.
Nice.
Jahan's got some singing voice as well.
been a long time coming.
Got that twang, baby.
Got pipes.
But well, yeah, because totally what you were talking about, where like even if you're playing the same sort of style of music, quote unquote, because you guys are like funk rock kind of thing, but like everybody plays and has different influences on their instruments. So like you might be more influenced by, you know, specific players, and then he's more influenced by somebody else, and so it just really helps a more dynamic sound, because everybody's going to play these instruments slightly differently.
Who's your influence, John, on guitar?
Your mom's up there. You know?
Damn.
Yo, my mom shreds.
No. Well,
Your mother's a nice woman. Let's just make that very
this
clear.
is very true. We love you.
Love you, Irene.
Shout out.
Love you, Irene. All the house.
I don't know. I started listening to a lot of 50s kind of rockabilly stuff, like Buddy Holly and like Richie Valens, and then getting into Roy Orbison. And then by the time I got to high school, that was like when I was listening to rockabilly when I was like 13. By the time I got to high school, I was listening to The Doors, Clapton, B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf.
Classic blues.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hendrix and Pink Floyd, Zeppelin. And they all have different tastes, but learning all that stuff, it's all kind of like just different flavors of the blues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because they're all using, majority, like Led Zeppelin 1 was all just blues. The Doors is all pretty much just pentatonic, bluesy stuff. Even David Gilmour's solos on Pink Floyd doesn't sound like 12-bar blues, but you play it and you find that it's
got
really
the same patterns.
It's really just just a different flavor of it. You might mix a couple modes in there sometimes. So those are the kind of people I was listening to. And then I got to Wayne State and they put me on to jazz, which I had listened to like Louis Armstrong and Etta James, on my own, but I really started listening to like Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, Chet Baker. I started listening to those guys, and even though like Miles Davis and Chet Baker are horn players, I still take their phrasing and put it into my solos, and I found that jazz and blues mix very well. So now that's kind of where my sound is, I guess. Mixing
I kind
jazz
of had
and
a
blues.
similar thing with like when I went into college and started going into like music production and things like that. I had professors or just other people who would reference like a lot of jazz and like jazz fusion stuff. And I didn't get into that until a lot later either. But it's like, it is interesting how you can like see those things and infuse them into what you're doing just to make things more interesting.
Well, and then from my side, it's like Corey Wong, the Wolfpack guys.
Yeah.
I was at Michigan when they were really rising, so that funk element, a lot of it comes from them. John Frusciante, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Classic.
I guess Terry Kath from Chicago, 25 or 624 is probably my favorite solo of all time.
Nice.
And then John Mayer, which gets into the bluesier elements, but he's a pretty wide-ranging virtuosic guitar player. But you put all those together between the two of us, and you can get some pretty good stuff.
Yeah. And you guys have another new song that is going to be coming out, I think, like the day after this podcast episode comes out. So
that's cool.
kind of debuting it on the episode.
Listen
kind of
to
not.
it tomorrow.
Yeah.
The fuck?
That's perfect.
But
Check it out.
You guys have this new song, YuNoMi, which I'm really interested in the background of this one specifically because, again, it's got you on the vocals there, and a lot of it's in Japanese.
Yeah. It's another weird Brandon one.
Brandon
started it.
I like the weird Brandon MO. It's good stuff.
So a little bit of the background on this. So I'm like, I would say I'm proficient in speaking Mandarin Chinese. These guys have heard me have conversations when we were in New York City and Chinatown. So I did a study abroad.
I was wondering about that because I was like, is this all like Google Translate shit, or do you like actually know how to?
Proficient. He's pretty incredible.
I'm on sometimes I'm off, but I've always had an interest in linguistics. So with this song, this was about an experience where I met a lady of the night, we shall say, in Shanghai, China, at what they call Amwotifang, which is a massage place, but they don't really give massages there.
Yeah.
So this was
a certain kind of massage.
Yeah,
Happy ending.
a special kind of massage. It's very cheap. So I mean, by the way, this was years ago. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a girlfriend at this point in the video. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. We have no idea.
He has strong, upstanding moral convictions.
Exactly. So long time ago, but an experience nonetheless. So when I was writing this out, it was about a prostitute, right? It was about a prostitute, but I couldn't help but realize that this song just did not sound right in Mandarin or in Chinese for that matter. So the last few years I have been self-teaching myself Japanese. And I was like, all right, well, let's put some things together, and I knew some basic phrases, and I crafted it out, and that was YuNoMi. So we did half of it in Japanese and then half of it in English, and all I had was this bass line. I remember hitting up Kai, and I was like, bum 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And I'm like, dude, I got this awesome song. He's like, no, you don't, dude. He's like, I'm like, listen, I got the bass line. I'm like, here it is. I've got the lyrics. And then that's where it brought it to Kai, brought it to the band. And then these guys really helped put it together, right?
Okay,
Here's the full piece, right? And, but man, I remember we did a run through of it like our first time. And it was like, holy fuck, this already sounds pretty decent, you know?
Yeah,
it's already pretty built out.
It was a fun one. Like you said, he came with that bass line, and then just added a little guitar riff, a little bluesy, bendy, funky thing, and then there's this like heavy breakdown after the choruses.
Yeah, you're getting into that hard rock a little bit more, which I think is cool because you guys haven't really done a whole lot of that, at least in your like original stuff that you've released.
Yeah, so it's fun. Whenever we're playing it live, it always feels great.
Yeah. We love playing that one, man. The crowd likes it. It's fun. It's different, right? It embraces that TOED style of like, this is kind of goofy, kind of serious, but like fun and different, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a lot of fun. I'm really stoked about that one.
Not to toot our own horn, but I'll hype up Brandon. But the novelty with this song is really something that I love. It just feels fresh. It feels new, at least to my ears. And, I think that's something everybody's trying to chase. And it's hard to... I'll write 10 songs and be like, this is the same song that I've written over and over and over and over.
I do really love to just listening to it. You're like going through and there's all this Japanese stuff. And then there's the line about a white boy singing Japanese.
Yeah, we do the rap breakdown.
Hilarious. I love that.
It's fun, man.
Just acknowledging what's going on.
It's a lot of fun. It's a fun experience. It's a weird one, and I'm glad that we had the band to really bring this one together, man. So
sorry, go for it.
What I was going to say is you guys also, I don't know if this was the case for the first EP or not, but you guys were telling me that a lot of these are fundamentally live studio recordings. You're not doing a lot of like recording things separately. You guys are kind of jamming in the studio and then adding in overdubs later, right?
So Hot Tub Toad Machine, that predates John.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who is an incredibly talented producer, studying that at Wayne State. I was the primary producer and recorder, and we tracked everything. So everything was overdubbed. Nothing was really recorded in a live band setting. But I'll let Jahan talk more about how he set up the... Because Hippity Hoppity and YuNoMi, we recorded those in the same session. And how he put that together.
That was a long day.
Dude, it was so long. This is the Super Bowl, right?
Yep. In
I
between
gave up the Super Bowl for you.
Well, not really. In between takes, you were watching the Super Bowl.
I won $100 on that Super Bowl.
I was watching.
So what am I talking about?
Talk about your the process of recording this shit.
Your process. I can prompt you if you want, because I also do like the recording thing. So I can prompt you if you want. But like,
okay, is there anything specific you'd like to know?
One of the things that I really like is it's really got a kind of like vintage drum tone. Like it doesn't sound to me like a lot of the modern recordings where you've got like close mics on everything. I hear a lot of like a bass of the overhead mics, right, as opposed to like close mics. So like, what was your process there?
I love the sound of live recordings. A lot of my favorite bands, they have live at the Paramount or wherever, and that's the recording. And I'd rather listen to that than the studio version of it because it feels like I'm there with them.
Got the quirks.
Yeah, I like that. So that was intentional. When I was miking the drums, I intentionally put the overheads. I mean, there's no wrong way to do it, but I definitely put it higher than the recommended amount, right?
It was almost acting like a room mic at a point too.
Almost, but it was pointed directly at the drums. We used a stereo pair of AKG 414s for the overheads, and we were in a nice room, and we didn't really use a fancy drum kit. There was a house kit in there. John just brought his cymbals, his china, and the drums aren't tuned very well, but we didn't want it to sound perfect. I asked John, like, do you want to bring your own kit? And he's like, no, use whatever is there. And I said, okay, we'll do it.
He'll probably bring his own kit next time.
Yeah, I'll probably raise my kid next time. Yeah, but yeah, I wanted, and we also have. I'm forgetting what mic it was, but it was some Neumann.
Most people won't know anyway, so if you say the wrong thing, it's
What
fine.
language are you guys speaking? I don't know what the fuck's going on.
17J14.
Yeah.
It was
Boeing.
some Neumann tube mic that we had.
Okay.
In the middle of the in the room, and I really liked the way the drums sounded in that, so I blended that in with the rest of the drum mixing. I kind of had that with the rest of the drum tracks, and yeah, it was a super simple microphone setup. We didn't do kick in and out. We just had I think it was the AKG 112 on the kick, and SM57 on the snare.
Classic.
Yeah,
Classic.
and
That's what you're holding right now.
So we all got going.
Oh, yeah, dude. I fucking love this thing.
yeah. And then I think we had Sennheiser 412s on the toms.
All right.
Or I might be saying that wrong. I'm forgetting.
Probably
yeah.
421s, I think.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
hey,
Opposite, not 412, 421. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
We had,
That's
we had some Heisenberg 420s.
the
All
classic.
the listeners are gonna
I
skewer
was-
you for that.
Whatever.
I love it.
Whatever.
Well-
He really doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but he managed to produce the entire song.
No, he
which
knows.
is-
Well, yeah.
Welcome
I
back
know
to
what
the
you're talking
audio engineering podcast.
Yeah.
We haven't
Yeah.
done this since we had the Marrier on like 3 months ago when we nerded out about audio.
I
But-
know XLR.
Yeah, forgive
There
me.
you go.
That-
Forgive,
No, yeah,
forgive me,
it has
producer
forgiveness.
community. Forgive me, producer community.
Honestly, so English is his second language too, so that's probably was a translation thing between that and Farsi.
Yeah.
It was-
No, English
Yeah.
is not my first language, so.
Yeah. Always just chalk it up to that, man.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I do really like the kind of like gritty quality of this one. I feel like it kind of matches the sleaze of the lyrics.
Yeah.
A sloppy
I mean,
drunk night.
we,
prostitute.
Yeah,
Well,
sloppy
we didn't.
chops in
You know,
Shanghai.
it's funny because we're in the studio with great equipment. We've got Fender Twin Vibroluxes in there. We've got Twin Reverbs, whatever. We got Blues Juniors in there. All these great classic tube amps, and Kai still just wanted to run out of his little solid state amp.
Hey, I had cultivated a tone.
Yeah,
for those
preset.
songs.
His tone was preset number 12 or whatever. That was his tone.
Yep.
And I
man,
still,
that-
you know, I didn't have at the time. I had this bass guitar that my friend who is now in the band, Simon, he lended me his bass to play for another band that I was in because they needed a bass player, but I didn't have a bass. I just kind of lied and said, "Yeah, I play
Yeah, I
bass.
play bass.
Yeah, I play bass." So
I'm a guitar player. I play bass.
I called Simon. He gave me this old Epiphone like $50 bass that the input jack was broken. There was cracks all over the neck, and I took pieces off this Telecaster that I had, and I screwed them all onto the Epiphone bass, and it sounds awful. It pretty much gave me tendinitis when I played it.
You are living up to the guitarist stereotype where every guitarist owns a really shitty bass.
Yeah, well,
We did upgrade though. We both have bought new basses
This is true.
since those times.
this
Nice.
is true. But we just used what we had. You know, we didn't want it to sound like what you hear when you see us live. You know, we wanted it to sound. We didn't want to kind of give you a false perception of who we are. So we all kind of used what we had, and we were all just very real. Except I couldn't resist. I ran that dinky little bass out of a Bassman 100-watt amp that was just as tall as I was, had 4 speakers inside the cabinet, and that was really fun.
Well, you were setting the volumes and the levels in the recording room, running into the studio to record the songs.
Oh,
You do
yeah.
like 3 takes, be like, all right, now I got to go back in there.
Because originally
Yeah.
you weren't going to play, right? We were going to have someone else
Yeah.
play.
Yeah,
And then he didn't show
I
up.
forgot about that.
Originally, I was going to volunteer as tribute and step out of the band, and we were going to have a session musician come in and take my place.
Because you were engineering.
It was
would just be
engineering,
easier.
and the bass lines weren't too difficult. It would be the most reasonable position to replace, and you wouldn't notice a difference.
But instead,
Yeah.
everybody else is watching the Super Bowl while you're
Yeah.
running
Yeah,
around like a
dude.
chicken
Yeah.
with your head
Well,
cut off.
so the
Well,
guy-
I'm glad we
Yeah.
did it
The
that
guy
way.
Me too.
bailed.
It
Yeah,
was a
the guy
long day.
bailed. So I kind of went in there, set up all the microphones, set everything up, went into the control room, got the board all, patched all the microphones into the board, and tried my best to set levels, without hearing the bass as well. Kind of guessed and hit play and ran back out into the live room and just hope to God that Pro Tools didn't crash or something didn't blow up in there. And it worked out okay, I think. Better than I had expected.
Yeah, I also like you defying the classic guitarist stereotype and going with the solid state amp over any of the tube amps.
Well, I had never used a tube amp in my guitar playing career up to that point. I was comfortable with it,
Hey, if you can get the tone that you want out of it, like people will talk about tone wood and tubes and all that shit, but it's like I have heard people who are truly amazing play through like a cheap ass Squire into like a Spider line 6, and it sounded amazing. I really think that it's all in the fingers.
Yeah. Well, I have since moved on from that amp and gotten a Blues Junior.
I begged him.
I love that.
You didn't beg me. You sent me a few Facebook Marketplace listings.
I said,
one of which is like a half-eaten Big Mac.
Whatever.
And then, so kind of moving on to the future for TOED right now. I understand that you guys have one more song in the vault, which is actually a song from a previous project that you did a few years ago, right?
Yeah, so I was in a band in college called Kai Althouse and Hotel Arch. One of the songs that has persisted from that era of my musical career into TOED is called On a Roll, and that's,
which I've heard you play live a few times.
Yep. We still bring that one out every now and again. It's funky, it's easy, gets the people going. Good warm up song, to get everything in check. And I don't know when we'll release that one. I think it's good to have it in the vault, maybe for a rainy day, because it's already out there on the Kai Althouse and Hotel Arch streaming accounts. But
when the fuck did we record that?
We recorded
that was the same day. That was the same day as we recorded Hippity Hoppity. Yeah,
I think it was the first one we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't even remember that.
Yeah. It's because we spent more time.
I think I was sober too.
We spent a lot of time on Hippity Hoppity and YuNoMi rather than, because we knew those were the ones we didn't have recordings of.
Okay, gotcha.
And those two are, I think, at least for my end, slightly more difficult. And the honor roll is the type of song where you could probably bust out 2 takes and you got what you need.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but we might release it someday. We're planning to do get back in there with our new vocalist Simon, and he's got some awesome originals that we've been playing recently. So we're gonna try and get those recorded.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna put more of a higher priority on those songs, but
for sure.
Probably in the middle of winter, like when we got a few gigs and not a whole lot to do,
we're in hibernation.
Yeah, we might put honor roll out there.
It's
summer's busy, man. It's fucking busy.
Is that one of the things, like, you guys are just prioritizing singles at this point as opposed to doing an EP or an album? Is that just because of time constraints or because of return on investment? Because I know a lot of bands have been going to singles over larger projects just because you're able to promote them easier in the social media age.
I think it's a variety thing. We've done the EP thing. Which it's cool. And I think what's, at least in terms of the promotion for an EP, this idea of a larger project can garner excitement, especially if you're doing a release show and you get a bunch of people out at that. Most of those people are going to go listen to at least one of the songs on the EP afterwards. So, like, if you look at the Spotify streaming data, the release of the EP, it also had 4 songs to Hippity Hoppity's 1, but we saw a much larger immediate listening rate with Hot Tub Toad Machine than we did with Hippity Hoppity. But I also think the timing is a thing. You have a lot of those songs that you'll put out in an album, I think, especially in our case, will get buried. So the 4th or the 5th song, nobody's going to make it that far. So if you release them as singles, you still get large immediate listens on the one song. Maybe it doesn't grow as big as if you have a 4-song or 3-song EP, but and then you do that 3-4 times every other month, month, building up that discography. That's important. If you put out one thing once a year, I feel like that can get stagnant and you can start to lose people who may have otherwise wanted to tune in and listen to your stuff.
That's the thing. I think in the modern social media TikTok kind of age, people have such a like short attention span that you have to keep reeling them back in. And so with the singles, if you release that every other month or something like
more
that,
consistent content as opposed to big
exactly
dumps. You're absolutely right.
Because like I am somebody who loves albums. If somebody releases a good album that I like, I'm going to sink my teeth into it, listen to it like all the way through once a day until I, really understand the record. But I feel like that's kind of a dying breed. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of...
Especially for your age, you said you're 25?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that a lot of people are more leaning into, playlisting and things like that. And so if you can create a vibe that somebody can put on a playlist and just have come on shuffle every now and again, and they don't have to think about it, it's a lot easier to keep listeners engaged.
For sure.
I think it also depends on the size and status of your audience. I think if you're a big name, you're going to put out an album.
Oh, yeah.
Your fans are going to listen to it front to back. But again, like with us...
You have to play the numbers game when you're smaller.
So like releasing a single, 1-song single, or maybe even like a 3-song single, that might be more what we want to do. The only thing is we do have a lot of songs. Like, we got a solid 14 songs that we could probably record. So I think for the time being, we want to stick with the single thing. But
we're doing a lot of shows, too.
Yeah.
So, the opportunity cost of sitting down and really piecing together a big project like an album or an EP, the opportunity cost of that is not playing as much shows. So we're taking a lot of these opportunities, and these opportunities are going to pay dividends in the respect that we'll have bigger opportunities next year.
Yeah.
Bigger shows, right? We applied to Arts Beats Neats, Daily in the Alley. Some of these bigger festivals and whatnot could be an opportunity not too far in the future if we can continue building a fan base, audience, and consistently get into the face of the public. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of what we've been doing.
I think that's definitely something where if you are constantly trying to build a fan base in real life, as opposed to, on the internet or things like that, I think that the people that you directly engage with are going to be a lot more engaged in what you have going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are always the most rewarding and visceral.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want to be a musician playing behind a phone screen to 2 million people. Like, it'd be awesome if I had that kind of support, but at the end of the day, I want to perform and connect with real people in real life.
There is discussion in it, though, because, we are still very much at the forefronts of, like, trial and error, right? And, we are entering a lot of things are virtual, so there is the possibility of doing maybe some more live streams, like where the band is just jamming and live streaming that, like, there's definitely opportunity in that, and then gaining followers that way as well. So, but yeah, right now, I mean, it's been cool. We're busy. We got a lot of shows coming up in person. We've made a lot of great connections that way. We're jamming with some awesome bands, and we're pretty excited.
All right, so I think that this has been a good discussion. It's a good time to move on to kind of the second part of the episode where we're all gonna share some music together. So the way this is gonna work, I'm gonna introduce my first song. We'll listen to it, discuss it, and go down the line twice. So that's a total of 8 songs this time as opposed to the normal 10, but we will also include Hippity Hoppity and YuNoMi at the very end. So we will have 10 new songs for you.
10 new songs.
So this song that I'm going to start out with is actually a bit of a special one for me because we are listening to a pre-release as of recording this. This song is not out yet. We're listening to this early because I'm special.
Wow.
But no. So this artist, have any of you ever heard of the pop punk band Magnolia Park?
Prior to the recording this podcast, you filled me in on them, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And then perhaps Kai mentioned them to me as well.
They're a band that I featured probably about 6 months ago. I think it was in December. They released I believe it was their debut album. So this is from their ex-bass player. He left the band citing creative differences, which, it's hard to tell how that works out when, there's only that much information about it. Yeah. But he is still talking about the band and everything. So I like to think that they left on pretty decent terms.
That's how I plan to leave. So it'd be pretty cool.
Creative differences. But anyway, so he was on Twitter talking about releasing his new solo stuff and was just like asking about anybody who covers new music. Do you want to talk about my new song? I'm like, hell yeah, I absolutely do. So I threw my hat in the ring, got an email a couple days later, and
Nice.
this is that song. This is "Dreamin' of You" by Sentry, and it's kind of like synth-laced emo pop, basically.
Okay.
So
Cool.
check it out.